Namaste, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the workshop series. So every Monday, we bring a senior yogi who has been on this journey for a long period of time. And today we have with us Sister Amy from Australia. So she has a very unique Brahmin journey. She's born into the family. She got into Gyan, was 3 years old. She was literally pampered with a lot of tolis and murlis with all the family, not only the BK family, but also dadis and didis. And I came to know about Sister Amy from our youth retreats in Madhuban. And this is the time we always cherish these moments. The December is the time. And she's one sister who always inspired me, who's always concrete, very solid, right, and stable. And by profession, she's an IT architect. She has been a CTO for a company, and she has led a big company. I think Qantas, right? Qantas is one of the airline companies, Australian airline companies. She was playing a key role there, right? And presently she is a board member for Baba's Service, and it's one of the key trustees, like Baba's trustees in a way, right? And she's a very right hand of Baba in Australia right now. And we look forward to hear from Sister Amy. She has a very unique journey. And something, I just want to add one more thing. Other day we were talking about talking to one of the sisters and say like, look, a lot of young children coming up with a lot of deep experiences, and they are sharing deep insights, how to be happy, and they are just hardly 4 or 5 years old, right? And then the sister responded, oh, just wait till she gets to teenage. Right, then you'll know who is that person. But when I look at Sister Amy, she born into this, and then she's solid all the way through, right? Thick and thin, right? It's not like that toli coating has not gone away. That toli sweetness is still there. It's still working. So without any further ado, I invite Sister Amy to share her insights on experimenting with the spiritual powers, our unique power. Welcome, Sister Amy.
Thank you, Harsha, for that lovely introduction. So good evening and Om Shanti to everyone. What a pleasure to be with all of you over Zoom. Something I hadn't ever thought, of doing. So thank you, Harsha, for suggesting. And yeah, also thank you for filling my mind with the wonderful memories of Madhuban. Yes, you're so right. This time of the year, we are generally in Madhuban, and although I'm no longer a young adult, but I really cherish the times that we've spent in Madhuban. And I also want to say any young bodied soul on the call, yes, you do have hope. No matter all the paper exams that you will go through, it is possible. And, very much Baba has all of us in his vision, and, we will get through. Just to share a little story that comes to mind is when I turned 18, our sister, local sister coordinator, she gave me a blessing card, and the card said that you are a spiritual warrior, and the spiritual commander has specially chosen you. And I read it, and I smiled with her. I said, this is very weird to give to an 18-year-old. Does that mean my rest of my life is going to be like a war if I'm a spiritual warrior? So, we all go through different exams, but yes, our commander-in-chief is Shiv Baba. So even small moments of challenges, Baba really lifts us and takes us on his wings, and we fly through. And that's what I really hope to share with all of you today, is how Baba's power has helped me go through various stages in life. And I also want to then end with techniques to share with all of you on how we can practice spiritual powers. And also regarding introduction, I haven't actually been a CTO. Harsha, you're the second person who's, which is, I've realized it's been a nice thing with LinkedIn. I actually worked in a team that directly, works with the CTO, and so therefore the team name had CTO in it. So actually, and so I've had other recruitment companies also offering me CIO roles and saying, "Oh, you've done CTO, you can do CIO." I'm like, "No, I'm CTO," but it's great. Like LinkedIn is marketing me more than. And deserved, but thank you for that. So shall we start with some meditation, Harsha, before we go into the topic?
Sure. Would you like to have some music, or silence is good?
Yeah, let's just have some music, and we can use moments to connect with Shiv Baba. So I think we're experimenting with spiritual powers. So I understand you've all done the Raj Yoga course and listened to the murli. Is that right? Yeah, everyone on the call understands the basics. Good. So, we all hear the word power in murli often, right? And power is also used in our day-to-day language. Yeah, we need power to do anything, right? Even just me speaking through the microphone, me raising my hand, anything that I need to do, I need power, right? And on our spiritual journey, our aim is transformation, right? we all want to transform from our weaknesses to really stepping into that elevated stage of being complete with our original sanskars, right? So to do that, I'm going to need power as well, right? And so what I today want to share with you is some of the powers that I've experimented with through the journey of this life. So starting, back in the student days, we often tell the young bodied souls that, young people that come to our centers as one of the benefits of meditation. Yeah. What do we tell them why they should meditate if they're a student?
You can concentrate better, you can get a
That's
good
right.
credits.
Yeah, get good results, concentration. And, reflecting on my journey, okay, how concentration really came into play and how it helped me. The example is when I was going through my university studies. And one of the subjects that I was asked to do was being experimented first time for this course that I was on. And I could not see the connection of this particular subject to my overall degree that I was going for. And it was very difficult, it wasn't my area of interest. And I was, and that also meant that I just could not understand and I was finding it difficult. So at first I tried doing the approach of inquiring through the administrative chain that why am I being asked to do this course when it's nothing really related to what I signed up for. And they're like, no, we want everyone to kind of have different, knowledge. And we do see this area as being one of the foundational pieces. So I tried to lobby, didn't get very far. And then came the mid-semester exam. And the mid-semester exam, so, was 30% of the overall coursework mark. And universities here, you have to score 50% to get a pass, otherwise you've got to redo the whole course again. And so being 30% is pretty substantial. And by that time, I'd already spent, a couple of weeks trying the lobbying path, did not get very far. And then the mid-semester came, I wasn't prepared, and so I failed. And then I realized, this is not going to be any good. If I don't pull up my game, I'm definitely going to, fail the final exam. And so then I thought, okay, Baba, now I really need to, increase my capacity to learn, right? And capacity to learn new things, not something that just I'm interested in or I'm just familiar with, but something that's a totally new area that I need to kind of understand and absorb. And as a Raj Yogi, whenever we get in trouble, we always look to Baba to come and help. And so I did. And I really, invoked the power of concentration. And amazing experience, as my coursework wasn't simple. It was about this thick book that I had to go through and understand. And as I, invoked my power of concentration and with the intent that, yes, I do want to try and understand and learn this thing, automatically I felt, my mind becoming open, mind starting to become silent. So previously where I had created a lot of waste thoughts, trying to, argue my way, try and convince people why this is not essential. And, where a lot of that energy had gone, now it had become silent. And, with that, the concentration became a lot easier. And I was able to create that focus with which when I read that content, I could understand, I could build connections, and I could then, I guess ultimately be able to apply that, when it came to exam and so on. So the story goes that, the final exam came, which was supposed to be 70% of the course. I did the exam, and actually, to my surprise, I got that 70% worth. I actually got it 100%. So there were no mistakes in any of my applications. And so when the head of that area looked at my marks, he was blown away. He's like, this person here who failed in the mid-semester exam came to the final, topped it so well, and really surpassed everyone else. As a nice gesture and as a gesture of encouragement, he actually liaised with other members to basically say, we need to really make May's mark as her final mark and not include the mid-sem exam mark in it. So, I'm not an A. My university score is not 100% in any subjects. I passed with a second class honors, not even first class honors. So that would tell you I'm not a super, not a gifted in that respect. But in this particular thing, they were so impressed, and they really wanted to, do it as a form of acknowledgement and encouragement. My actual final mark in my transcript for this particular course is 100%. So, this became really not just, encouragement at that point in time that, yes, I could do something, but really became, an inspiration for the rest of my life. That, when I do tap into my inner powers and, apply it with that intent, and taking that help from the seed, I can make impossible possible. And, really what actually, helped was I increased the capacity of my mind to learn new things. And I'm sure you would all like to do that, right? So, yeah, that's one example. The second one I want to share about is, growing up, as a young adult. You face many choices, and, the power of knowledge that we have really always becomes this, this almost like the screen that we look through, right? And as I've had to make many choices in life, there were two powers that really helped and made those choices possible, and made me make those choices, which now, when in hindsight I look at, I kind of go, oh, they were the right things to do. And these two powers were the power of discrimination and power of realization. Yeah. And you think about power of discrimination, right? And in our course that we do with the 8 power lesson, the analogy we use with power of discrimination, who remembers?
They cannot unmute.
They cannot unmute. They haven't been given the power to unmute.
I just enabled it. Yeah.
Jeweler. Thank you, Lavneet. Yes, jeweler. That's right. Yeah. So, a jeweler has the knowledge, right, about what jewel, which jewel is considered to be of great value. You know, when we talk about diamonds, we know, right, the diamonds that has that, the say the 3 C's, right? Color, clarity, and I don't remember what the last C is. But, you know, based on that, the value is determined. So with the knowledge, you know, when we look at something, we can see, this is valuable, this is not. And same with the power of discrimination, you know, when we are faced with choices, you know, when I apply the knowledge, when I look at the knowledge, look at these decisions from the viewpoint of knowledge, then the answer comes about. And so for me, growing up, that check, you know, applying that, you know, that magnifying glass view to the decisions that I had to make was the murli and the daily murli. And one way that I applied this power is often whenever there was a confusion in mind about whether I should do path A or I should do path B. You know, I will wait and I'll say, okay, let's see what Papa has to say in the morning. And, you know, I will listen to the murli and I will look out for it. And, you know, sometimes, yes, maybe, you know, nothing kind of felt like, yep, I got my answer. I'll just wait till I feel like I've got the answer. And, you know, one of the other techniques I kept with me was making sure that the choices I made was the choices I made when my mind was still and silent. So not, you know, when I'm in a state of confusion. So I will always wait till it becomes silent and then look at with the magnifying glass of murli and go, which is, you know, what should I look for here? And to give you one example, I remember, you know, often Baba says we need to have disinterest, right? To not get attached, not get caught up in, you know, the various things we see around us. And I remember one time, you know, listening to the murli and really, like, I must have heard this point so many times, and you know, it just was a point, never kind of really hit me as much. And that day when I heard it, it really brought this such a different meaning to me. And this point in the murli was Baba was saying this old world is like a brothel. Yeah. And you must remember listening to this as well, right? In Sakar Murlis, Baba says this quite often. And, you know, I realized that, yeah, you know, when you look around, everyone is so preoccupied in taking care of the outside and, you know, really making sure that the outside is attractive. You know, whether it is the looks, the physical looks, or what in the outside is considered success. You know, I've got good friends and, you know, good work or whatever, wherever position in life you're in. The focus was so much people attracting themselves and really making, you know, the effort to that they are looking the best and they look the best in all respect. And then Baba says, you know, Baba is taking us from this view of the world to the world that is Shivali, you know, the heaven, and what we will be like that there. And, you know, that point, just that moment created such a profound, like, realization that, you know, I was almost like able to now see the world completely in a different, with a different light, and see myself in a different light. And therefore then be able to choose, okay, what I need to do next. So both that point of murli brought about that power of realization, and that also that discrimination, to see, to distill the right from the wrong. So then the last example I want to share with you is this example of, now, that I find myself in is, I'm assuming like many of you, I work full time. I also support Baba service in many ways. And at the end of the day, doing all this, the aim is really a spiritual effort at the attention on myself and where I'm going, right? And in here, two particular, again, powers that really helps me. One is this interest, again, related to my previous point about realization. And then the second is having good wishes and good feelings. Because, I look at myself, and I'm sure you could probably also relate to it, is how much of our thoughts are, throughout the day are occupied into what I need to do next. Yeah. Whether it is in a context of Lokik work or Baba's service, there is always doing. Yeah. And so when I sit for meditation, straight away, it's not easy to just disconnect like this, because the mind is still kind of trying to consolidate all the other things that it was caught up in. So, I was finding that when I'll go to bed at night, oftentimes still, there is a bit of concern, a bit of worry, a bit of planning, all that going in the mind. And I'm going, this is no good, how I can bring again my power so that whatever I'm doing, I do it, at that time with that utmost attention and focus. But once that task is finished, I can literally also finish it in my mind. Yeah. And for those of you who have seen our dadis, right, like Dadi Janki and Dadi Chi, they're such great examples of that, that they are just able to endlessly give because they're just very much present in that moment. And then that finished, they're into next. And when I reflected on that, I said, okay, what power I need to do, they need to adopt, need to invoke. And, what came was this interest, right? Is, yes, when I am doing it, I bring the consciousness of the instrument doing it. But then the moment that task is finished, I can, free my mind from it and then connect with Baba again. And so that, yes, bears the result. But then I realized just doing that wasn't it. Because often when I am doing, because, I'm still work in progress, soul consciousness is not 100% of the time when I'm performing action. So often, either while I'm doing action, the mind has been a bit critical, has been observing, either observing weaknesses of others or projecting weaknesses on others, so the mind hasn't been in the good state as it's performed action. And therefore, that detachment doesn't happen that easily. So then I thought, okay, I need another power here to help me, where my soul consciousness hasn't been there and the action hasn't been accurate, how I can still, pull my mind away from the situation so it doesn't continue to occupy my mind. And the one that I started experimenting with is the good wishes and good feelings. And with that, the experiment I do is, yes, when I'm doing the action and, perhaps when that action is, not accurate and I have absorbed negativity or given negativity, what then I do in my detachment is really reset my intent, reset my intent again to hold that good wishes and that good feelings towards other souls. And with that, as I again realign, readjust my intent, I find then the mind is able to free from those thoughts and move away and again refocus on Baba again. And that, is again like similar to the first example I shared. I find now it's really, increasing the capacity of the mind to be able to, stay connected with Baba, but at the same time still do many, many different things. And, apply the skills and, be available for Baba to be used. So yeah, those are some of the stories and examples that I wanted to share with you as my own experiments with spiritual powers. I'm just going to pause for a second to see if you've got any questions.
Anyone have any question, feel free to unmute yourself. You should be able to unmute now.
Om Shanti, sister. I was trying to understand in terms of when you're doing karma, how do you stay free of waste thoughts and be focused on, you did say you did get the power of concentration, but as a practice, how do you bring your attention back to what you're doing?
That's a great question. So one of the practices I consciously do to not get caught up in the waste thoughts is really to practice listening, right? Whether it's listening or reading. So in a conversation, so like this, that the conversation I'm in, I will 100% stay in the present and make sure. And so when I'm doing that, automatically the attention is not on anything else, right? So therefore there is no waste thoughts that come in and out, right? And the same thing when I'm reading, then I try and do the same thing, is really focus on what I'm doing, what is that I'm reading. And I find the great ability to listen is when we listen to Baba's murli, right? It's a good time to really practice our listening skills to see how much am I really listening to Baba's murli without mind going here and there. But I find like all skills that comes with practice. I remember my high school days, now the young people of today probably cannot relate to it at all, is we used to have typewriters. And so, I remember in school when we were introduced typewriter and we had to learn touch typing, and I thought it's impossible. How can someone type without looking at the keyboard, right? For me, that was like, and even riding a bike, how can you ride a bike in a balance, with two wheels without falling? And look, you all do that now, right? With practice. I can touch type now without looking at the keyboard. So all these things, all these skills, powers really come with practice.
And in terms of to finish the karma and then not free your mind from that. I mean, the example I would say, if I have a conversation with a friend, sometimes certain things of that conversation linger on even after we finish the conversation. So how do I put a stop to that? Or if you're, whatever, if you're cooking or something and you didn't do something right, you keep repeating in your mind, if I'd done this, it would have happened this way, and why didn't I do that? Or so how do you put a stop to that? Especially when it comes to relationships and conversations you have with people.
Yeah. Great question. I find what works for me, and again, I'll encourage you to experiment with this to find, what is going to work for you. Is if the conversation or anything that I've done is something that I need to still extract the learnings out of, I give myself that little bit of time to reflect. Say if I'm about to then go on to the next thing, I'll plan that thinking time just to check in and go, okay, that situation has happened. It wasn't perhaps, how I would have liked it to go, or, perhaps I wasn't in a good state of mind. What can I learn? Let me extract out the learnings. What will I do differently? And once I pull that, then the next thing, like I said, is align my intent to have good wishes for myself, that yes, I can do and I will do better next time. And also for the other person, that we share good wishes. And then we move on to the next thing. So that way, we give ourselves the time to resolve.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
It's beautiful, Ben, how you pointed out to the importance of that pause to reflect on. And actually, my boss, my ex-boss, she always used to tell that, see, you guys do a lot of work, you never take time to celebrate, right? And she used to create meetings just to take a pause and acknowledge all the good things that happened in last couple of months, and then just share. And then they say, like, don't talk about next project, it will be there no matter what, but just acknowledge what went well, right? And I was trying to use that even in my Brahmin life. That is really handy. Is it gives you a instant boost to keep going for the next phase. Yeah, that pause is really important. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
So on that note, I have another question. So on the same lines, especially with your background, right? Like you born into Gyan, right? So you pretty much heard everything that you need to hear, right? You might have heard in different forms how much you can wrap up the Gyan in different versions, right? So you might have heard in different forms as a child all the way as a grown-up, right? So now comes the question, what was your turning point? You said like, okay, this is my path. This is my path. Because Gyan, yeah, you got it, you know it. I'm a soul, things are changing. Yeah, I can see that, right? But I still have to get through this birth. So because most of the youth, if you actually see, that is their make or break point, right? So they have to get through, because you will not have that boost of, oh, look, this is a cool knowledge, right? You will never say that, because since childhood you always heard that. It's not exciting news to say, like, oh, I'm a soul, I never thought that before, because you have heard right from the childhood, right? So it won't give you that boost to keep going on that journey. But there has to be some other boost that says, like, yes, this is the way I have to go. Is it some deep, profound experience or some life-changing instant that say, like, this is it, I'm not turning around?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, I find that, that happens almost every day for me, like, that this is the path. And I have to thank only one person for this, and that is Maya. And this is the thing, right? Until you face challenges, you don't appreciate what you have. Yeah. And until you apply what you know to face those challenges, you really don't recognize the power of what you have, and really therefore the power that you have. And that's been my journey, the example that I was sharing, the daily murli, and I didn't mean it lightly, but this is really how, profound it has been, as you know, small or big problems that they come, I would really look for answers in the murli. And it's been magical, you know, that I will find those answers. And that used to create this feeling in my heart going, wow, you know, although Baba speaks to, you know, hundreds of thousands of his children each day through the murli, but this murli is really for me. You know, this, because Baba's talked about my particular thing here, and you know, he's answered my question. Therefore, he really wants me here. You know, he really, he is listening to me. He is, you know, looking out for me. And yeah, I feel that has been the sustaining thing. Is it's both like really applying the knowledge that Baba speaks in the murli and really building that connection with the murli as that guiding force, which, you know, I feel has had that multiplier effect. And so, yeah, I'll encourage that as a, you know, as a technique for everyone, like no matter how small or big problem, you know, whether it is, you know, a little, you know, argument. When I say argument, maybe perhaps different perspective that, you know, you've been maybe looking at in your family situation, in the work context. Really, you know, reach out to Baba and look for those answers in the murli. For example, for me today, what was so good was that actually it will be tomorrow for you, because we are a day ahead in Australia. So you will love the blessing that Baba will share with all of you tomorrow. And yeah, you know, that I'm speaking to all of you today. And I've actually just yesterday, my boss said to me, she rang me specially, and she said, to my department is about 30 people. And she said, oh, you know, I've been wanting you to do this whole year, and, you know, can you finally now do a meditation thing during our team meeting? So, you know, I'm going to be doing it for my team tomorrow. So the blessing where Baba said, really, you know, if you keep Baba with you, then, you know, you can really, yeah, we give experience to many souls, and really not just for them to have the knowledge, but also then, you know, become an heir. So, yeah, like, you know, I was so excited that, you know, Baba really spoke something that I was going to, you know, do, and really lift it up a few notches to how I can really aim and practice. So it's all that. It's the interplay between me and Baba through murli.
It's
and Maya, you know, can't forget Maya. She's made sure that, you know, I stay close to Baba.
It's beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, it's not the especially when Baba says, or we realize that the real test papers come from the people who are closest to, right? And doing meditation course at work means that it really means something, because once they know that you're a meditator and stuff, and then they have to work with you day in and day out, and you are in the radar, you are under watch list. If anything that you don't do correctly, they will point out to you. You know.
That's right, which becomes a blessing, right? Which
yeah.
I at my last place, my manager, actually the assignment in the place that I was doing before this one, my manager's done the course, and yeah, we used to have great conversations, and really, you know, helps us grow, and also, you know, helps Baba kind of, you know, achieve reaching out to many of his children. There's no other questions. I was going to share, you know, the toolkit as a toolkit of how you can create your own experiments with the powers, right? So the very first step, like I was just sharing, is really know your powers through the murli. You know, whatever situations you may be going, really look into murli for the answers. And, you know, take that aim that you want to experiment with that point. And yeah, experiments, some experiments you will have success, the others you will need to tweak it a bit and apply again. So, that's the fun of it. And the second step in this toolkit, what I would say is, as you are about to, whether it's a new thing you're going to start, or whether it's a difficult situation you anticipate you're going to face, any challenges, new beginnings, really look out for is, what power from my toolkit can I use? So go in prepared. When I, as Harsha mentioned, I work as an architect, and one of the skills my managers had taught me early on in my career is, as an architect, when you go into, do your architecture, always go in with a framework to facilitate that, conversation. Don't go with a blank, canvas hoping for answers to come. And so it's like this: if I know what's in my toolkit and I know what tool I can apply at that time, I'm gonna, have a good chance at reaching the end game in a fun, happy way. And then the last step in this toolkit, what I would suggest, is really connecting with the seed. Baba is the seed of all the powers. So let me consciously, as I, know what tool I need to apply, but it's a little bit like sharpening my tool, before using it. And that sharpening happens by connecting with the source of power and drawing that power and going into it. And then they can then become your toolkits of experiments that you can work with. So that's what I was planning to share with all of you, Harsha. Sorry,
Don't worry, I'm here. I have tons of questions to ask. I just wanted to have this chit chat with you, so now is my chance to get my answers. Because whenever we meet in Madhuban, you're always busy doing this, arranging, facilitating this, that, and the other. So, so youth retreats have been a turning point in my Brahmin life, definitely. And especially in those days, like 15 years ago, Brother James Lee, he used to conduct sessions in such a way that make it real, right? So I remember he used to give us a blessing, right? And then we said, like, just convert that blessings, go beyond words, make that word into a feeling, and then hold that feeling and be that feeling and walk around the answer over. If you remember, I mean, there are so many you might have gone through. So he used to make us do that. And then I said, like, wow, this is what yoga means. You don't have to hold and repeat the word, and then you have to hold the feeling behind that word, and then be that word, be the feeling, be that energy, and then walk around, right? And then you will do a lot of service. And then I still remember that is one of the 15 years old back experience, right? And I'm sure you might have got so many jewels on this path, interacting with all the seniors and daddies. So I would like to hear some of your deepest experiences that you had, that you're still using, still working for you now.
Yeah. Many experiences I find, like each day that, like really sustains the day and takes us to the next day. Standout ones, the one that comes to my mind is, again, really, helps me know that, yes, Baba's got a special interest here and is looking out and listening to what I have to say. It was in Madhuban. So and I've had many similar experiences in Madhuban where, the thought comes and it happens. That's the beauty and the power of that land is however small that thought is, it, does, as long as it's a pure thought, not out of any other ulterior motives, it does kind of bear fruit straight away. And so this one particular experience was, I was waiting, like queuing outside the Diamond Hall to go in for Baba's meeting. And, it's slightly flip side to what you'd asked, but I was chatting to the sister from Australia. We were in the queue before the gates open, and I was saying, one of my regrets in Brahman life is that although I have been around, the yagya. I haven't actually had a personal meeting with Baba, and so I was sharing that with her, and it's just a conversation. Then off we go. We go in the hall, we sit, and all that, and Baba comes and Baba speaks the murli, and about 3/4 of the way through the murli, 1/3 of his way through the murli, not even 3/4, 1/3. Baba just all of a sudden stops and he goes, "Who is here from Australia?" And there was 3 of us only from Australia. And we stood up and Baba just gave us drishti. And we sat down and we continued the murli. So I literally felt like, Baba was responding to my little remark out of 20,000, 25,000 children that were there present in the hall that day, Baba responded to it. And so, wow. Like those sorts of experiences, this was very, very much kind of in a physical sense that played out. But so many other, small things that happen in a subtle level where either Baba sets the intellect right or sets the situation right. And so therefore, I really feel when Baba says, this is easy Raj Yoga, Baba really does go out of his way to make this an easy Raj Yoga for us, as long as we stay connected to him and, try and hold his hand and not anyone else's hand. And on what you were sharing, Harsha, about, really becoming the form, that's been my more recent aim in meditation, is rather than, before I used to step into that awareness through going through a thought process, right? I will create those thoughts and therefore then step into that feeling and get drawn in that experience. But one of my recent, and which I actually learned from Sister Mohini, I've been listening to Sister Mohini's Avyakti Parivara classes. And this one I picked up, she was in an interview with Mandaben from UK, where Mandaben was asking Sister Mohini about, how she practices soul consciousness and that self-respect. And she, again, like, you listen to these points all the time, but what kind of drops the penny in your head, And this one, Sister Mohini said, I just step into that form and I really, become that form. And, that's how she was explaining, wow, that's what I should do, when I meditate, rather than go through a thought process. Let me just, step in. It's like a little bit like, when when we go to work, we change. I mean, I know nowadays we all work from home, but before we used to, we change into clothes, work clothes, or when we, about to go to center, we put on our white clothes, and how quickly that changes our consciousness, right? And how it prepares us for the task that we are about to do. So in that same, now when I sit for meditation, I start with that, stepping into that form. And that, has been amazing. Feels, powerful and not like,
Thank you. And any particular personal experiences that you had with that? And I'm sure I had, because of being part of the youth retreat. I'm sure you might have a lot of good experiences. Would you like to share?
Yeah. So one is with Daddy Janki. And this was actually here in Australia. And like some of the things that she said to me over the years have really become like principles in life. And I keep bringing it in my mind, over and over again. And this, was over such a simple thing. She said it to me, and it just was like, so true. I was with her, I was accompanying, because as Harsha mentioned, one of the jobs I did was working for an airline. And so I had, the fortune of having access to go to certain parts of the airport that others didn't. And so I had the fortune of bringing Daddy from one terminal to another in Sydney and being with her at that time. And, there was in the travel party was Daddy, Sister Jayanti, and Hansaben, the three sisters, and when Daddy saw me, she held my hand and started chatting. And Jayanti like, "This is your time, Mummy. Just, talk to Daddy. Don't worry about us. We will sort ourselves out." She really made me, I was supposed to look after all of them, but she made me free to be fully with Daddy. And, we were conversing and she said many things, but one other small thing, we were waiting outside the terminal for the car to come. And my eyes just kind of, went like, as if I think I was looking to see, okay, is the car here to pick us up? And Daddy said to me, she said, in life, don't look here and there, just stay focused. Stay focused. And I was like, yeah, that's so true, we often get so caught up in the sightseeings, or what's this one doing, or where are they at? Have they done this next thing? Or, we are so caught up in keeping track of, things often that we're responsible for. But then the amount of tracking that we internally first do here is a lot more than what we end up doing in reality, right? So that's become a mantra, that stay focused. Don't look here, don't look there. And yeah, another story related to Daddy. I was leaving Madhuban, and Daddy said to me that, after you get home, send me a letter of your Madhuban experiences. I said, okay, no problem. And then I, make my trip, and it was so amazing, that trip from Madhuban back home. Like literally, it was just magical. Every single leg of my journey, I found someone was there with me that I hadn't even anticipated, or there was no plan that they will be there, and they literally just happened to sit on the seat next to me. So, and I must have been in my, 17 or 18-year-old at that time. So, traveling on your own from India to overseas was, still something to be done with care for a young person, right? Traveling on your own. And it was so magical that till, my flight to Sydney, I had someone with me. And then I wrote a letter back to Daddy sharing my experience, and I summarized it in one line. I said, I've really felt, Daddy, that when God is your companion, everyone is a company. And Daddy liked it so much. Sister Jayanti then wrote to me. She said, Daddy's been sharing this point with everyone. And I was so touched. I'm like, here, that's me, and here's Daddy. So, so much more senior and experienced to find the value in something that I had shared. And one of the things Daddy used to say to me, she's like, you're my good friend. I used to get so amused with that. And I'm sure she said this to so many. But, and that's what really I feel. Yeah, she does. She does say it with that meaning, not artificially. I totally agree.
Yeah.
And that's a learning for us, right?
Yeah. And then she really appreciates, no matter who is on the other side, there is something genuine. She really acknowledges and appreciates and takes it.
Yeah, that's right.
I missed that. What did Dadi Janki say? That when God
Yeah.
is your companion,
Whole world is your companion.
whole
Yeah,
world.
Everyone is your companion.
Everyone is a company.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Mm.
Oh,
So I'm sure like Dadi Janki is, if you look at Dadis, Dadi Janki, Dadi Gulzar, Dadi Prakashmani, and Dadi Ratan Moini, right? I mean, so these are the Dadis who we interact from, coming from youth retreat and youth group. So she really says something that really moves the needle, right?
does.
So one of the things about, I always was stuck in comprehending this idea, right? Like in Hollywood, Bollywood type of version of love is like, oh, one sacrifices themselves for the other person and that jumps off, other person dies, this person dies, that kind of stuff, right? I, I used to see that, what, I mean, definitely it is not less because they already died. What are you doing here, right? So there is something else pulling them back to there. And that was always stuck in my mind. Like, what is that? If it is not love, if somebody is sacrificing their own life for the sake of other person, what is this? If it is not love? It was always stuck in my head. And once Dadi was talking about that very thing, right? And Dadi immediately said, like, look, people, what they do in the name of body consciousness. And then that really hit me that, oh, it's not just about body. It is about what image you hold of other person in your consciousness as a body, and that is still not love, right? And then Romeo Juliet, and this is another version of love, and it is still not love. And then she was clarifying what actually, there is one video about different versions of love, spiritual love, and then in another class she was telling me, this is not love, this is not love, this is not love, and this is love. And then she was giving with examples and clarity, and she has such a refined surgery she does on your intellect. And that goes
Absolutely.
you to the next level altogether with her presence, right? Just with
Absolutely.
any
Yeah.
experience with Dadi Gulzar or Dadi Prakashmani or any other daddies for that matter.
Yeah. Dadi Gulzar, the one that I remember is just getting drishti from Dadi.
Mm.
Dadi's drishti was like, like you couldn't tell the difference whether you're getting drishti from Avyat Bhaktada or Dadi Gulzar. Just felt one and the same. And yeah, literally like you lose track of time. And yeah, I remember getting toli, and this perhaps would have been my last physical form meeting with Dadi Gulzar, getting the toli, and yeah, I just felt that that drishti just kept going on, and yeah, like we were both past the time, and I don't know how long that drishti went for, to be frank, but it just felt like I thought made me totally bodiless, like yeah. It's completely beyond and just lost in that love of Baba. And yeah, just again, really like felt I got that experience and seeing that example of how, I feel like Dadi Gulzar's strength was she didn't connect anyone to herself. She really connected to Baba. And that's what, felt like, yeah, we all should, I would like to be like that, is that state where, I'm just being an instrument for Baba, not, yeah. So, and she was really that example where you could not get caught up in Dadi Gulzar. Every time you saw it was Baba.
Yeah,
That power of Baba.
She's amazing, and especially when we look at Dadi, we feel that, oh, Dadi is more in a different level, and then she's just being an instrument. Baba is working through her.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I have seen her administrative side also, right? Because
Have you?
yeah, I mean, she happened to come to Anubhuti once, and one day late, almost like 8-9 o'clock, and it was everyone is trying to wrap up, and one of the brother was not so happy with the attention. we are not getting the attention what we needed from Daddy or something. And Daddy overheard that conversation. Like, yeah. And then she immediately walked out, and then she sorted out what is going on there, right? So there is this confusion going on between these people, and then somebody is not so happy, and then she stepped up, and then she did what needs to be done. She really said, like, okay, what can we do now? And then she said, like, we just came out of something, Daddy, we want to take you out for ice cream. At night, 9:30, and every shop was closed. It's a weekend, so we took Daddy all the way to the ocean, and then we sat, and all shops are closed. And then Daddy said, like, okay, so are you happy now? And then and then we came back, and she went out of the way just to
make you content.
Wow. I mean, I said, like, okay, this is it. This is it. These are the instruments.
And I really feel like Daddy's kept the Trikaldarshi, like seeing the three aspects of time in every interaction. It wasn't just, yes, she's fulfilling your desire or the brother's desire, for now, but the value of that soul and that, the value of that interaction that's going to come and shift, not, just the present, but also the future. And it's such a powerful, lens to always look at things with, right?
And one of the things that the Gulzar mentioned, helped me out in Dharna is to refine what it means to have yoga, right? And it is more of a Dharna point. It was she was telling that, did your eyes roll when somebody walked by? Not even head tilt, right? If somebody passes by, did your head tilt? Not even head. Did your eyes roll, right? Means like part of your consciousness is somewhere else. Are you responsible to watch the door? Then why are you watching there? And that simple things really make a lot of difference, especially like the same thing. It is not the eye of your physical eyes which is rolling to the other person. Is your intellect drifting away from what you set your intention for, right? And that brought so much clarity, and like what she's actually practicing behind the scene, right? And she's not naive. I always used to think like, oh well, she came to Yagya when she's 8 years old, and she's always surrounded by dadis and baba, but she senses if there is some maya going on. She can sense that, well, this is what is going on, this need to be done, and then she uses her energy to do what needs to shift that into that. She makes a difference, and then she creates atmospheres, and then keep moving without time. It's amazing how when you see her doing it, you can never forget. It's so beautiful. Yeah. So any particular practice that you pick up from dadis that you use in your meditations?
Yeah. The one I try and do as well, I remember Daddy Janki sharing, is in between, someone asked Daddy once, how do you have the capacity to just keep giving so much? And she was, Madhubani, you would remember, she would be just meeting people and, fast or going here, doing this, like where at that time her body was already 90, over 90. How do you keep going? And she said what she does is she takes those moments, in between meeting people or traffic control to really go up and connect with Baba and then come back into the action. And so that's one practice. I really rely on traffic control. I'm not sure how many of you have got onto this, but I've got the B-Zone app on my phone. And it's got a traffic control feature, and it just plays music for 30 seconds. And now I'm working from home, but I remember back when I used to go into the office, people who sat around me knew that that's what that music was for. And often I'll be on the phone and they will, like, my phone will go off with the truck and they'll come and tap me, "It's your traffic control going on," and give me a reminder. It's a time to check in. I used to always say it's time for me to check in and check out. So yeah, I really value this practice, and I find it really sustains me throughout the day and keeps me in check. So yeah, I would really encourage you to download the app if you haven't already, and turn on your traffic control. 30 seconds is not a long time. You can do that, in midst of doing anything. And you will really value that.
Yeah. How do you make incorporeal world real for you?
Oh, I make it real. I don't do anything to make it real. No, it's taking your mind there. And really just, absorbing the energy of that place. And, we all have that experience in our mind because, we've all been there. So it's like re-emerging that. So I just saw someone's asking. Yep, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So for me, I always have my intermediate steps, before doing a high jump.
Right. And what
I
I
jump to Madhuban, and then from there I go.
Oh, nice one. You've created your own route.
I have my own bypass.
Transit in Madhuban and then go home.
So on that note, you have any favorite place that you had a good experience in Madhuban?
Tower of Peace is by far the favorite place. I spend as much time as I can when I'm in Madhuban at Tower of Peace. It's one of those magical places that just instantly draws me in that state.
Elaborate a little bit more for those who haven't been there.
Yeah, Baba often talks about the murli 4 pilgrimage places in Pandit Bhavan. And this is the Tower of Peace, which, I don't know if there's a way you can show them the photo, or have you shown them the photo before? This is like a memorial place for Sakha Brahma Baba. Brahma Baba was actually, Brahma Baba's body was cremated at this place. And it's scribed like the tower. It's actually got writing on it, which are Baba's final words and, final inspirations for all of us. So, that place for me, and it's surrounded by, History Hall, which is, it was the hall that was there before Madhuban was Madhuban, with all the other different big places of gathering. So you would have seen again photos of Brahma Baba sitting there and, taking class or having meals. So it really, when I sit there in Pandit Bhavan, it emerges, the presence of Brahma Baba and, the power of that presence and connecting with that. And that final state that Baba has reached, of that Paramatheid stage. And at Tower of Peace, people don't gather to have classes. They are there for meditation. So that place itself over the years has created this, magnetic vibrations that instantly I've had, people come there and have had, are not BKs, not meditators, but they sit there for a few moments and have those experiences. It's a magical place. And I know right now we're under travel restrictions, but I hope, as we reopen again, you can take the opportunity to visit Madhuban. And it's a magical place.
I know Charlie Bhai describes Tower of Peace as a as a cocoon, as an energy field, as you walk in your
Yeah,
another. It's
it
like a,
is.
you know.
It is. It is. Yeah.
So on that note,
Yeah.
take us for a nice meditation to Madhuban and.
Yeah. Sounds good. So do you want me to speak a few words or you got
Sure,
something?
sure. Yeah, yeah. No, no, please share some thought.
Okay. Okay. Thanks a lot. One thought, step into the awareness, being seated on my seat of command, the center of my forehead. State of peace, I the sound of this concentrated awareness. Okay, journey upwards, going around the trees. Visualize the sound of beautiful red light. I see my mother going to play, radiating rays of peace, rays of power, joy, experience the power of this energy. Pray from my dear Baba, send the strays out the whole world, all the souls, all the vibrations of peace, in every time to get the people and know the spirit and my brothers that many beings fill the world with God's light. Like lighthouse, receiving rays from Baba and sending it every soul in fire. Stay in this experience for few moments, receiving rays and sending rays. Give permission in my own time. I prepare to return from the moments things research in this body in this conversation. Um,